Welcome to this episode of Living on the Edge with your hosts, Russ and Moyer.
Hi, I'm Russ Moyer, and I want to welcome you to the Elisha Project, to the Marketplace Ministry and Leadership series on the Elisha Project. This particular session is going to be on mentoring. And I want to talk to you about the spiritual journey that all of us are on that actually begins at a place where the transformation of our being, he touched us to transform us, according to Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, that we would be transformed and not conform to this world, but be transformed into the likeness of Christ, that the old man would die and the new man would come on by the washing of our minds, by the transformational process in it. Every real Christian today is in some stage of change, transition, or transformation. One thing you can be certain of is that change is here, change is now, change is on the way, or it's coming. It's just now. Change is. That's the one steady factor. From the moment that he touches me, he begins to take me on a journey of transformation and change and transition. I'm either in a season, going to a season, coming out of it, going into that new harvest field, that new time. But transition, transformation, and change are very, very important in the life of a Christian, in the pursuit of our destiny, in the journey of who I am. From the time that I get touched, it begins at a place of discipleship. We're called to make disciples, according to Matthew 28. Not make converts, but make disciples. And discipleship and mentoring is the lost art. They're the first two steps in the process of the journey of a Christian. It starts out in discipleship, which is the laying of a foundation of foundational truths in our life so that we can live a successful Christian life. Then we go from discipleship to mentoring. In that discipleship stage, that foundation that's laid has to do with the foundations of the faith, the blood, the cross, the upper room, the baptism of the Spirit, the things that we believe in. It comes down to not just knowing who it is I believe in, but what I believe in. And those foundational truths are a wonderful foundation so that we can avoid the roller coaster walk and ride of Christianity. As I go across North America and around the world, and I probably have visited more than 200 churches in North America and many conferences and groups, denominations, I've seen people 10, 15, 20 years in Christianity still riding that spiritual roller coaster. Up here today, down tomorrow, following hard after Christ this week, and next week questioning their salvation. And you say, why would something like that happen? And I believe that the real reason that happens is because we have lost the art of discipleship. They have never been really properly discipled, systematically discipled. And he tells us to make disciples. He's not talking about making converts, but making disciples. So it goes from discipleship to mentoring. And some people get them confused and they think they're one step and they're really not. Mentoring is when someone identifies the gift and the call of God and begins to prepare me for the Christian ministry life that I have ahead of me. And then we go from mentoring to achievement, and achievement to leadership, and then leadership to legacy. That's the journey of a life. Legacy is bearing fruit and fruit that lasts. Achievement is bearing the fruit. And then fruit and fruit that lasts is legacy, going from generation to generation. It's probably the one thing that we have done more poorly than anything else in the last generation or two is in turning this over to the next generation, preparing next generation to take their rightful place. But the process of mentoring, I want to take a real closer look at that today. What is mentoring really all about? These are the days of Elijah. It says, and let's go to Malachi chapter 4, verse 5 and 6 in the New King James Version. It says, these are the days of Elijah. Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and the dreadful day of the Lord. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. You know, most of us realize that Malachi chapter 4 is not only a prophetic verse in that season in the Logos form, but it's also a prophetic verse for the end time spirit, for the fire of God to come out, for revival to go across the earth. And it says, I will send Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and the dreadful day of the Lord. Well, I believe that at first he sent Elijah, and now he's going to send a company of Elijahs with the spirit of Elijah, the same spirit that was on John the Baptist, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, that prophetic voice that'll confront sin. But you know, here he's talking about the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the fathers. And again, I'm gender friendly, eh? You know, I draw the line in Genesis chapter 1. That he made man in his image, both male and female, and that a woman can be anything that a man could be, and anything that God calls us to be, equips us to do, he prepares us to do. And you know, when he lays something on our hearts, we're able, it has nothing to do with gender. So here it's the hearts of the fathers and mothers, the hearts of the parents, to the children, to the sons and the daughters, and that's really what it's about, turning our hearts back to them. See, we live right now, and the last 2 generations have been generations, fatherless, parentless generations. In the 70s, in my time, when I was a young man, a teenager and a young adult in the 70s, you know, it was a pretty wild time, a changing time, you know, just the ending times of the Vietnam War and the culture changing and the freedom and sex and drugs and all kind of crazy things began to happen. And that generation's children, you know, we came out of the changing generation, out of the World War II generation, and freedom and liberty and cars and houses in the suburbs and the change in lifestyle and women coming back into the workplace, all types of changes that attack the core life and values of North America. We've become a fatherless generation, raised, some of us, by TV, and some influenced dramatically in a negative way by the culture all around us. This now is the second, maybe even the third group of young people, generation to generation to generation, that have not really had that sound parenting. And one of the first things that happens when we grab a hold of young adults today and they hear the call of God and they come for discipleship and mentoring or internship, we begin to reparent them, because they've not just been a fatherless generation, but they have not been properly parented. And the foundation has not been laid in their life for successful living. But as surely as it's happened in the natural, it's also happening in the spirit. And now he's turning the hearts of the fathers to the children and the children to the fathers. For a long time, and I was part of that generation, and for a long time I found it very easy to blame the spiritual fathers, that they lacked the fatherhood, and that I could blame it all on the teacher and that generation. But really, it came down a whole lot to me as well. Let's talk about spiritual mentoring in particular. Spiritual mentoring is the logical next step after discipleship in the spiritual journey of a believer, in the pursuit of their destiny. The days of Elijah are about discipleship, parenting, mentoring, and releasing into the great harvest, into their destiny. It's about transference of the power and the anointing to lead, to mold, to make, to transform society, to move from a place of not just successful Christian living, but you build on that foundation of discipleship that prepares someone for that. But the spiritual mentoring portion actually prepares them to be successful in their Christian calling. Mentoring builds on the foundation laid in the process of discipleship. The Great Commission in Matthew 28 talks about, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, make disciples, not make converts. It's easy and not very time-consuming most times to convert somebody, to get somebody to say that they believe that Jesus is the Messiah, that he is the Lord. Even the enemy, even the demonic realm, even the devil knows that Jesus is Lord. But is he really Lord in your life? Is he really Lord in our life? How do I put this in the proper perspective? How do I make a disciple? Is that I teach them to observe all the things that we've been commanded by Jesus to do, and that he's with us and he'll help us to build. He ordains a fivefold ministry in action. Mentoring is one of the key objectives of a fivefold minister. In Ephesians 4:11, 4:12, he ordained, Jesus gave us apostles, prophets, teachers, evangelists, and pastors for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edification of the body, to build the body up, to prepare the saints, you and I, to do the work of ministry. It's the ever important process of raising up this next generation of leaders, warriors, champions, world changers, history makers, these ones that are coming on the scene for such a time as this. The end time warriors and end time handmaidens are coming over the hill. The end time leaders now are coming over the hill. We have to equip them, prepare them, launch them into the harvest. Mentoring is a form of coaching that includes teaching, but it is a whole lot more than just teaching. It includes role modeling, encouraging, motivation, equipping, empowering, identifying the gifts, skills, talents, and abilities of an individual, and then honing them into a vessel of honor and impact. You know, he tells us that there are all kinds of vessels in the house. There are vessels made of wood and stubble and hay, and there are vessels made of gold and silver. He tells us to avoid the one and then to cleave to the other. And that's what he's trying to do, is trying to get us to work with those that are, he's going to turn into honorable vessels of impact in the house. I said hone, and one of the things that we need to do is to hone their gifts and talents and ability. And to hone means to sharpen. Like he was carefully honing the curved blade. That means like to sharpen, to wet the soup, to grind, to file down. Like iron sharpeneth iron. That's part of the mentoring and discipleship process of rubbing down and grinding down those rough edges that we have. And the second definition of honing is to refine or to perfect something over a period of time. She has taken numerous workshops to hone her skills over the years. So it's perfecting, just like it talks about in the equipping of the saints in Ephesians 4:12. That's what I am called to, and any fivefold minister is to perfect the saints over a period of time, to refine them, to hone those skills and talents and ability. Honing skills in individuals, it's a life workshop. It's about practical training, and certainly includes classroom training, but more, interactive teaching. And not just interactive, but active. Engaging the individuals, and the individuals engaging themselves in the work and the life of ministry. It's intense by its very nature. The process of mentoring is many times, it's just intense. It's by its nature. It requires a willingness to change. And in order for me to truly be mentored properly, I'm going to have to be challenged to change. I'm going to have to be confronted in areas of my life in the process of mentoring. So it becomes an intense personal process, a process of change on the part of the person being mentored. The process of mentoring is first and foremost relational and requires a commitment to the process from both parties, as well as to and for both parties. That's right, they both have to make a commitment. It's covenant by nature. Covenant is key. It's a covenant relationship. And if it's one-sided, it's actually unhealthy, maybe even toxic by its nature if it's out of balance and all one-sided, because covenant is two-sided. And I believe in the chicken salad theory when I talk about, equipping and empowering the saints, when I talk about mentoring, when I talk about this next generation, when I talk about raising up the leaders of the future, I believe in the chicken salad theory. That means you can't make any chicken salad if you ain't got no chicken. Hello? I got to have chicken. I have to have something that is capable, a vessel that's capable of holding, that's willing to be molded. A lot of times the work of molding and the making of a leader happen in the furnace of adversity. They happen in a place of conflict where we are confronted by our issues, where we're being changed from the new man to the old man. There are some people that are saved, legitimately saved. I'm not going to question their salvation. You know, maybe they confess with their mouth that Jesus is Lord, and they believe in their heart that God raised Jesus from the dead. And I'm not going to question their salvation, but are they living the kingdom experience of the new birth? Has the old man died and the new man come alive? Are they living out the kingdom revelation? Do they have a victory in the kingdom mentality in life? Are they manifesting that in their life today? I have to know. One of the things I have to know when I'm looking to be mentored, what am I looking for in a mentor? First, when I'm looking for a mentor, I want to make sure I have the right one. You know, the Lord put some mentors into my life, and He ordained with some real special covenant relationships that God ordained. I knew that they were divine appointments, divine connections, covenant relationships that were fruitful and were strong. But of course, as soon as I started to step into those relationships, the enemy began to oppose the relationship itself at the root, because if he could bring division and disunity, he could rob me of the commanded blessing that comes in a unified relationship with unified spiritual objective to it. The first thing that I'm looking for in a mentor is their common ground. I should not ask someone to mentor me in an area that's out of their area of expertise or influence. Now, my pastor, Pastor Paul Wetzel, is still my pastor today. Tremendous pastor, tremendous discipleship and mentoring, calling and anointing on his life. He is anointed to be my pastor. He was anointed to mentor me in the things of church government and what it was like to navigate in the church, because I was relatively unchurched. But God brought him into my life, 50 years of experience at that time in the church. Obviously, that man could take me and teach me how to navigate in those strange waters called the church. You know, I'll tell you what, sometimes you go swimming in that church waters and you go fishing in there, you be looking to catch some sunnies, but instead you get some barracudas. I mean, that's pretty strange and unusual territory and water that I wasn't used to. God used him to mentor me and to teach me and to hone my skills so they would fit in the church community, because I came out of marketplace ministry into pulpit ministry. But you know what? He could mentor me on church because he had that. He could mentor me on overseeing and on the apostolic side or the pastoral role or even evangelistic a bit. But he could not mentor me on the prophetic. It was not in his gifting and expertise area. He couldn't. I was called to be a missionary and to be a prophetic missionary, that I was going to go to the nations as a prophet to the nations. Well, he couldn't take me there, teach me that, because he hadn't been there himself. It was something that it was out of his area of expertise. So the Lord, in his divine wisdom, sent me to Calvary Pentecostal Campground and Tabernacle, and I sat a year under the ministry and tutelage of Ruth Ward Heflin, and many years now under the parenthood and spiritual covering of Jane Lowder, who was part of the ordination team, who's a prophetess to the nations and one who has traveled and established churches and walked in the miraculous realm in the nations of the world. You know, I can only teach you what I know. I can only take you where I've been. But in the end, I'm going to bear fruit after like kind. I can teach you what I know, but in the end, I'm going to bear fruit after myself. So you have to find someone who has common ground, who can take me where I'm going, because they've been there, they've been down that road. They have the practical experience to do that. Number two, is it good ground? Can I see the fruit of the Spirit? Can I see a fruitfulness in their life and ministry of that individual that I'm going to sit under? He said to know a tree by the fruit it bears. Has the person raised up other individuals in this area of ministry and expertise? Number 3, a willingness to commit to the mentor. I have to sit down and talk to the person who's going to mentor me and make sure that there's a willingness on their part to commit to that, because I'm stepping into covenant and it's two-sided. You need to sit down and discuss it and agree upon it and the terms and the conditions of the relationship. And you need to walk through that before you even start. There has to be a willingness on the part of both parties. Number 4, how about the timing? Sometimes it's the right and the proper relationship, but the timing isn't right. Sometimes there needs to be something more completed on the part and in the life of the mentoree. Sometimes while that's happening, the mentor is freeing up some time and things and setting things in place. So these conditions are completed prior to the mentoring season beginning. Number 5, do I feel this is a person that I'm going to be willing to submit to? A person that I can respect their position in my life. You know, respect is a foundation of education. It's a foundation of learning and growing. It's a foundation of relationship. Every relationship, but particularly those key relationships in your life, they need to be founded on truth and honesty, loyalty, integrity. You know, do I feel, so it's rooted in that place of real respect for the individual and the position. And I'm going to give them the opportunity to speak into my life. Number 6, many mentors are busy and will have others help in the process. Do I respect those individuals as well? Like in our case, I do some of the mentoring myself, and I sit down and I get involved in the process. But we have a lot of different areas, places where people can be mentored in different seasons. And I'll be involved in the process and how and where they are now and what they need in this particular season. What are we mentoring them for? And who in Eagle Worldwide Ministries is capable of walking them through that season. If part of what they're doing in the mentoring process and the journey of mentoring is Spirit Ministries Training Center or Bible School, well, I have Wendy Martin and Miguel Simon who head up Spirit Ministries Training Center. And of course, they'll do a lot of the hands-on in that season. You know, I have the Elisha Project and Days of Elijah, where we have the traveling ministry team goes out. Some of it's done on a personal basis. But you know, as we do that, you have to make sure that you don't only have respect for me in the position of God that I'm going to fulfill as a mentor in your life, but also to the people and to the system that we use to raise up leaders, and that you'll submit yourself to the process. Many mentors are busy and will have these others helping them. Do you really respect them as well? And are you ready to submit to them into the process of mentoring? You know, there's also, what am I looking for in a mentor, in a mentee? You know, because I'm looking and you're looking. You know, I told you I believe in the chicken salad theory. So I'm looking for chicken. The chicken is one of the foundational ingredients of making chicken salad. If I ain't got no chicken, I can't make no salad. Who are you? What are you about? What am I looking for? Number 1, I'm looking for commitment. I don't want to waste my time or yours. If the person or the parties are not committed, it's an exercise in frustration. I'm looking for time, energy, effort, and much more. A commitment to relationship and to the mentoring process. Because they have to be committed to the process itself, because it's a journey. It doesn't happen in a day or two. It's having a long, not being short-sighted, but seeing the process and where we're going and what we're doing and having that laid out in advance. You'll go through different seasons in the mentoring process. Number 2, I'm looking for people who are responsible and dependable, who are willing to work not just with me and when I'm with them, but when they're on their own, because I'm trying to establish a solid work ethic with dependability, and that includes diligence and perseverance. And in order for that person to really be responsible and dependable to work on their own, they have to be a self-starter and have to have a desire for excellence. I have to have people who are in the pursuit of excellence, and not perfection. Excellence is the best you can be. Somebody who's really trying to apply themselves and engage themselves in the task itself, who are willing to invest in themselves. If you're not willing to invest in you, why should I? Because if you're not willing to invest in you and you're not willing to persevere and be diligent in the task, in the process of mentoring, then it's going to be frustrating to me and I'll be spinning my wheels. You know, I'm at that point and place in my life where I want to sow into vessels who are ready, vessels of honor, who are ready, who are mature enough to go on. Sometimes you have to start somewhere else and then come to me when you're really ready. And when you're ready, because I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. Hello? This is a spiritual mentoring and requires integrity, and I'm going to confront you on issues in your life and lifestyle and situations. And you know what? If you have a good mentor, someone who's a real mentor, they're going to hold your feet to the fire, even if it's a risk of relationship. You have to have someone who's going to be honest with you and truthful with you. Hey, because I'm trying to build integrity. And integrity includes loyalty and honesty and courage and humility. It's the nature of good character, pressing into developing the gifts of the Spirit in a tangible way in their lives. Number 4, I'm looking for a mentoree that's teachable. I've had some people schedule an appointment to discuss the possible mentoring relationship. I couldn't even get a word into the conversation edgewise. They spent our time together trying to teach me. Now, I like to learn, and I consider it a great privilege to mentor. But we need to have our priorities in order. Sometimes I'll sit down at that table and begin to talk, and I'll open the conversation, and that person just dominates the conversation, dominates me. You know, we do the same thing in prayer, in conversation and relationship with Christ, which is prayer. The next thing you know, we go into prayer, and we're telling him who we want to bless and even how he's supposed to bless them. Hello? We want you to bless Billy, but we want you to do this and this and this. And just how to bless. You know, God already knows how to bless them. When I get in conversation and prayer with God, it's a whole lot less about talking than it is about listening. He already knows everything that I know, plus a whole bunch more. I need to listen so I can find out what he knows. I have to get my priority order straight when I'm working, and I need to be teachable. It's important that I have respect, and respecting one another's time, respecting one another's value and family, and keeping the relationship in balance and in order. Remembering that a covenant relationship is give and take. A mentoring relationship is give and take on both sides in order for it to be a healthy relationship. Not making unrealistic expectations of one another. That creates if I have realistic expectations, it'll create a healthy environment to work and to grow. I have to be able to set realistic and attainable goals that develop confidence and enthusiasm that enhance our heart and hope for a successful pursuit of our destiny. I have to respect you, and I have to respect the gift of God and the call of God on the life of the mentoree. I have to be challenging. I have to be able to set realistic goals that are not necessarily within your reach, but not necessarily within your grasp, but within your reach. Something that's going to stretch you, something that's going to cause you to go out on the limb. Stretch numbers and goals that are going to get you to get away from the trunk of the tree, because the sweetest fruit is out on the limb. The Holy Spirit and his whole relationship with me is constantly challenging me to engage myself and to take me to a higher level, to the realm of more than enough, to the fullness of the potential and the capability that's within me. And so will the mentor challenge you. And as I begin to set those goals, realistic and attainable, they develop confidence and enthusiasm. They enhance our heart. Another thing I'm looking for is attitude. I'm looking for people, and if I sit down with someone and they want me to mentor them, I'm looking for people that have a positive mental attitude, or that at least they're working hard toward that end. You know, attitude's going to determine your altitude. A critical, judgmental spirit causes conflict, strife, and tension. It actually opposes the blessing of unity. So I'm not looking for that critical, judgmental spirit. I don't want to be around it. A person who questions each and everything. I'm looking for someone who's ready to receive, someone that has an attitude, a proper attitude. Your attitude has a lot to do with your ability to receive whatever we're doing in that season. You have to be receptive. It has to be on fertile ground. I'm looking for fertile ground. I'm looking for somebody whose heart's been prepared and who's ready to receive the seed of achievement and destiny and the things that we're sowing, the words that we're speaking. I've never seen a statue erected to a critic, but the people they criticize, many statues have gone up. When you're around someone who has a positive outlook, it's life-giving. When you're around someone who's constantly negative, I've been around some people who are so negative, you got to send them out to get developed. It can't seem to happen in-house. It has to happen outside because, you just can't sit and talk. It's like they take the energy away from you. And that's not what we're looking for. I'm looking for that positive attitude. Number 7, and probably one of the most important factors, I'm looking for a mentoree that has a heart to serve. Because the road to spiritual success is a highway of servanthood. Oh, I'm not talking about carrying my bags into a meeting, driving me back and forth. Yeah, that can be, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a desire to serve God's people unselfishly. To minister is to serve. I'm talking about a lifestyle of serving and caring for the body of Christ. I'm looking for people who are not self-centered and selfish, but unselfless. The people who are willing to give of themselves, not just when it's convenient, but when it's necessary. A lot of people want to do it when it's convenient, not just when the spotlight's on, but when it's not. I don't know, for some reason, as I've found in ministry, emergencies don't really happen or occur on schedule. You can't schedule an emergency, and most of them don't happen between 9 and 5. If I get somebody on my pastoral team that every day at 5 o'clock they shut their phone off, what are the people going to do that have a problem, that have a situation? These problems and situations occur normally after they come home from work, in family-related situations, or they're processing something at night or on the weekend when they're not at work. When they're at work, they're focusing on their work, even if it's hostile and strife and conflict that's there. The processing period and when they need me is usually not between 9 and 5. So if you're between 9 to 5 servant, you're probably not called the pastoral style ministry at all. Because most of the emergencies, first of all, you can't schedule an emergency any more than you can schedule a storm. But the storms come in our lives, and they come at unusual moments. And we have to be prepared to serve. Not only when it's convenient, but when it's necessary. Because why should I train this person and pour into them if they don't have the gift of servanthood? Because he said, in order for me to lead, I have to serve. The greatest among us came with a heart and a gift of servanthood, took on the heart and the life of the servant, and he served us. And that's an example to each and every one of us. He wiped their feet. Let's talk a little bit about mentoring at Eagle Worldwide. See, we have a diverse, wide perspective of mentoring in many ways that you can plug in. I get involved in every aspect of this in one way, form, or another. I'm one of the instructors at Spirit Ministries Training Center, our Bible school, but I'm also the president and the overseer of the school. I get involved with our men and women's dean as they work through personal issues. They are much more the hands-on mentoring at the school, but I get involved with them right along with all the other instructors and leaders in the ministry. Spirit Ministries Training Center is our full and part-time Bible school. We have main and remote campuses, and we have online training and teaching. Then we have intern programs. We're on our camp, at the Eagle Worldwide office, and other practical ministry outlets like the King's Way and His Hidden Treasures, places where they can actually put their hands, put their boots on the ground and their hands on the plow, and actually have practical ministry training and an outlet for them to work. We have intern programs for teens and young adults, and then we have the practical ministry outlets at the Kingsway, Hidden Treasures. We go out and our traveling team gives seminars on the prophetic, deliverance, leadership, practical ministry of all types. We go out and do Days of Elijah prophetic fire conferences as we travel around. It's important that we can reach you where you're at. Number 4, we have the School of the Spirit, where we talk about spiritual gifts, prophetic training, deliverance training at fixed locations and during summer camp and spring camp. And right now we're doing a boot camp week during spring camp. All different types of things like that, where the School of the Spirit, and it's all tied together, connected and related as one of our arms and forms of reaching you to mentor you. We're committed to the discipleship and mentoring process, to raising up the next generation of leaders, the Elisha company, the company that's going to do twice as much as we did. With a father's heart, it's my desire that I be the man that my daddy never was, so that my sons and my daughters can be the man I never shall be, that they can reach the generation of people I couldn't, that they're going to be the world changers, the history makers. They're going to change nations and they're going to change lives one life at a time. That they're going to reach their generation. We have the number 5, the Elisha Project. It's an online mentoring program. You know, a lot of times as I travel around North America and around the world, people can't always come to Canada, to Hamilton, to Copetown, or to Toronto, or to one of our remote sites that we have that we're birthing now, even in the Arctic and other places. But, you know, the Elisha Project is an online mentoring program, just like what you're doing right now. Things about marketplace ministry, leadership, the prophetic, foundational courses and discipleship courses, courses on mentoring and leadership, all different types of courses that are practical for today. Freedom streams and freedom ministry and deliverance and inner healing, all online, so you can take them online. They're interactive. You can take them for credits that are applied at Spirit Ministries Training Center and go toward a degree program of some sort. Number 6, I do marketplace ministry breakfast seminars and workshops, where I'll go out with a team of marketplace ministers and equip and prepare and perfect, empower, anoint, and launch those marketplace ministers into their destiny and calling in the place that God planted them, where they're rooted, where they've been planted, and they're going to bear fruit in that place. I'll give them practical ministry training that's going to help them to extend and advance the kingdom in the marketplace, that their light would shine, that they'll be the salt and the light. Hello, that's what we're doing right now. Talking about marketplace ministry, mentoring, leadership, all in one. That's all part of our marketplace ministry program. That's what we're doing right here, right now. Leadership mentoring. I have monthly covenant leaders that meet. The leaders in Eagle Worldwide Ministries, all but maybe 1 or 2 of the 8 or 10 churches that we've birthed, are sons and daughters that we've raised up in ministry. And once a month, we take the pastors and associate pastors and worship leaders and Sunday school teachers and youth pastors, and we bring them together. Over 100 covenant leaders meet on a monthly basis at the Nest, and we do a personal leadership mentoring, have a time of fellowship, questions and answers, laying hands on them. But it's a ongoing leadership mentoring program. And then I do advanced mentoring, personalized mentoring groups in my home and sometimes in my office. Like right now, I'm raising up 18 people that have a very strong prophetic gift, and they're ready now to transition into the office of the prophet. Sometimes I'll do it on personal mentoring, on discipleship. I'll do personal mentoring at times on leadership, like I was talking to you about. Other times raising up the next generation of prophetic voices. But we do that in a home, in a personal setting. Pastor Maeve and I almost always have one type or another of mentoring group going. We also have a mentoring group going now being led by Victoria Irving that has to do with that has to do with the intercessory prayer and raising up prophetic intercessors. At times we have mentoring groups run by Patty Thorpe Wallace on inner healing and personal inner healing groups. So we have the advanced mentoring and personalized mentoring. You know, it's important that we begin right here and right now and begin to look at actually at what we're trying to do in mentoring. I wanted to give you a good look at it. I wanted you to know first and foremost what mentoring is and where it fit in the process, in the journey of developing a Christian from start to finish. Discipleship, mentoring, achievement, leadership, and legacy. See, now I'm stepping into that place of legacy. And you know what? My destiny is in my hands and in the heart of God. But my legacy is in the heart and the hands of my sons and daughters. It's in the hands and the heart of the next generation that I have discipled and mentored. That sons and daughters are like arrows in the quiver of a mighty man, and they meet the enemy at the gate. Happy is the one that has a quiver full. I got a quiver full. I have been wonderfully blessed with tremendous leaders that are an extension of my heart, pursuing the vision of God. They've been discipled, they've been mentored. They're now in that achievement stage where they're walking it out. You can see the fruit of the ministry and the time. See, we're about building the kingdom. And the way I build the kingdom is not by building buildings, by building ministries. But Jesus said that the kingdom was within. So when I build into you, when I build into another man or woman, when I pour everything that God poured into me into them, then I'm building the kingdom, extending and advance the kingdom through them. It's the plan of multiplication and duplication. That's what mentoring is really about. Mentoring and coaching for a successful ministry in life develops that culture of building the kingdom of God. It's built by strong, committed leaders and healthy churches. And that's what we're trying to build. People that know who they are and know who Christ is in them, that have been prepared and equipped to do the work of the ministry, that we've raised them up, discipled them, mentored them, equipped them, empowered them, and now we launch them into their destiny. If all you do is raise them up and you never launch them out, then you never have the plan of multiplication fully in action. You have not really done the plan of mentoring. You mentor them with a purpose of not just teaching them. He said we have lots of teachers, but we don't have many fathers. And the mentoring heart is the heart of the Father. And the Father wants to launch them into their place, into their purpose in ministry. And then the plan of multiplication and duplication is put into practice. It's where the rubber meets the road. It's releasing power and authority to an individual who has been trained. Not just been taught, but been trained, been mentored, been walked with, been worked to. You know what, it's not about making slaves and servants, but making sons and daughters. That's what mentoring is about. When I send someone out to represent me or Eagle Worldwide Ministry, come to another church or a ministry on our behalf, I don't want to send out a servant. I want to send out a son or a daughter. Because not only do they know my message, but they know my heart. That the heart of the Father is in the heart of the Son. And that we are one. And we walk in unity and harmony. I've been blessed with many sons and daughters. And maybe now where you're sitting, maybe you don't have an understanding of the concept of discipleship and mentoring. Maybe you have never been put in a position where you needed to sit and be tutored and worked with and walked with. Maybe there's some opposition and barriers and fences that have been built up in your heart through wrong relationships. And you know what? Until there's a healing that occurs in your heart and those barriers come down, your heart's not fertile ground that I can sow into. Those barriers have to come down. Healing has to come. It has to be a place of trust and relationship. The whole mentoring process is about a relationship, a father-child, a parent-child relationship, a relationship of trust and integrity. Knowing that I have your best interest in mind, that I'm going to work with you, and when you're right, I'm going to be your cheerleader. And when you do something that I know you can do better, or you should do different, or I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be willing to risk our relationship in order to speak the truth and to tell you what's the best thing for you. Well, I want to thank you for being a part of the Elisha Project. And I want you to know that we want you to be a part of this interactive thing. Let us know what you're doing, where you're going. Email us, get in touch with us, connect with us, give us some feedback. If you have questions, you have problems, you have situations, you can reach us, you can email us. You have all of our information. Let's stay in touch. Let's stay related and connected properly. We want to be there for you. Myself and the board of directors and the leadership team of Eagle Worldwide Ministries, we welcome the interactive process of discipleship and mentoring. We want to thank you for being involved in it, and I want you to know that we believe in you. We believe in your future and your destiny. We believe that God in you and the gifts and the call of God we're willing to hone and to work with. We want to raise you up to be all you can be, to reap the great harvest and to pursue the destiny that God has for you. We love you and appreciate you, and in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and in the power of the Holy Spirit, I bless you and your family, the gift and the call of God that's on your life, and I release you now. Into every, I receive you and release you. I receive you with love and hope and joy, and release you into the harvest that God has for you, to be everything God's called you to be. Thank you for being a part of the Elisha Project. You have a great day. God bless you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Living on the Edge. Eagle Worldwide Ministries offers a variety of resources to strengthen the body of Christ. For more information, check our website at www.eagleworldwide.com or call us at 905-308-9991. God bless.